How's it going, you guys? It's Scott with Everyday Solar. Today I want to show you a really cool project we're working on, which is the Solar Shed 2.0. Now this is a huge upgrade from what we did with the version 1.0, which was only 200 watts of ground mounted solar and a 400 watt panel on the roof running into a Delta 2 unit to power all my battery powered lawn equipment so I could charge the batteries remote and be off grid with that shed. Well, this storage shed that's now converting into a home office is going to also be completely off-grid, but pretty much have the capability of most homes and for a very reasonable price. So we're gonna jump in and get about 6 kilowatts mounted onto this roof and show you how I did that for about $2,000, which puts you under 40 cents per watt, which is a great price and a big motivator for doing this yourself. So first up, these are used panels. They're about 6 months old. I got them from somebody on Facebook Marketplace. Depending on your area, there are some great deals out here. I think it was a lease gone bad where an electrician got hired to pull the panels off. He was given the panels and then he sold them for about $100. So first up, when we're trying to keep our costs down on a DIY kit, it's all about the panels. If you go out and pay retail pricing, $1.50 to $2.50 per watt for new panels, that's gonna blow your budget right away. A great place to look is a few different sites online like Signature Solar or Facebook Marketplace. That's where I got these. They're about 6 months old. I'll put the specs right here, Q-cells, so a very high quality manufacturer, and they pump out about 410 watts. So I got 14 of these guys that we're gonna be putting up on the roof. So these are 41 inches by 74 inches. That's what I'm working with. And that will give me what I need to go start laying out my orientation on this roof and start chalking that out so we can start putting our mounting points in place to get our rails installed. So my overall dimensions, here's the roof here. 178 is the overall height and width is 317. And our panel dimensions, as we went over, were 74 inches by 41 inches. Now I am going to be placing 4 rails here, 2 rails for each row of solar panels that come across. And then I'll be using just a pretty inexpensive quick mount PV flashing kit. And then that's where you will have just an L bracket here. That's where your rail will go on top of. So you do have to understand what mounting point you're using, because really these notches here and right through the middle of where your lag screw will go into your rafters or trusses, that is where you're going to want to mount that first rail at. And that is what I'm trying to position here. I'm going to leave 6 inches as a buffer here from the bottom side. And then I also know that my rail needs to be 12 inches up from the edge of this guy. So if we go 6 inches up plus 12, because we know the rail does not want to be at the edge of the overall panel, we want to be in a little bit so it has structure. This is going to be 18 inches. So I'm going to measure from really my drip edge here, go up 18 inches. I'm going to check my shingles to make sure the flashing lines up, because you will want to make sure that the flashing actually goes under your second course and possibly even the top under your third course to make sure water sheds appropriately off each of your attachment points. So we'll start with that 18 inches and set our rail all the way across, and I have 3 more rails to position. Just know in your area, depending on where you live, you might need to check with your inspector, especially if this is your house or a rental property. You might need to follow some additional codes, and if it's a gable roof, you might have to have a 36-inch offset at the ridge so that there's access for any firefighters or any emergency that you might have. So I have my 2 rails, and you can see that 1 panel in portrait, and now I'm setting my top 2 rails, which would be my second row of 7 panels up top. Now once you have that, you can start laying out your lines. I'm just chalk lining these across the shingles and then starting to mark my different locations. Sometimes you need to go back and forth, double check your measurements, and just make sure everything's right before you start screwing in. So now we're ready to start put our mounting points in place. This is the location. Here's my first one. I was a little off. This is where I would prefer to be, but actually our location, although this line's going to stay constant, the location here on our roof is going to be justified by where can we actually drill our lags into our rafters. Now to find your rafters, if you have open rafters like I do on the shed, you can do some measurements on the inside. What I know is I'm pretty close if I go to the outside of the drip edge, I'm pretty close to 21 inches right here. Now, to get an idea, you can use your hammer. Hollow means you probably do not have a rafter underneath that point. See how it firms up right here? And that spot is going to be close to my 21 inches right there. So I will take my mark here and just line it up. I'm going to line it up below here because what I'm going to want to do is I do want to position the flashing. I'm going to have to get up under the second course and possibly even the third course while we position this. And I want to line up with this mark and then get these two little grooves here lined up or where I want it to make sure we're perfectly lined up all the way across. So I'm just going to extend these out here. So when I'm actually positioning this, I can line everything up and get that mounting point correct. And then ultimately we're going to sit our lag down through that hole after we put our L bracket on and drill that into our rafter. And then that is what's going to attach onto the rail. So you'll use your flat bar, take your time, and you got to break this tar seal at the bottom of your shingles. And you'll want to work that up because what we're doing is providing a path for that flashing to go up under this second course and possibly even into the third course, depending on how many nails you have. Then you'll go ahead and put your bead of roof sealant there so the water would go around this hole that we're going to be drilling through for the lag bolt. So I'll mount the L bracket and then drill that lag in. Now, if you miss, or let's say when you miss, especially if it's your first time, if you can go down and look and see where you missed and course correct, do that. If not, there is a specialty tool that you can use and it will help you find that rafter without even being able to see it. So you'll poke it down through the hole you created and then twist it over until you hit something, and that should be your rafter. Then that top semicircle will give you the actual location of the middle of that rafter. So I'm marking top and bottom here so I'd see it, and then I could move that position and hit the rafter with my second hole, making sure I have sealant all the way around to prevent any future leaks. So let's look at the rest of the hardware we're going to need to start mounting these panels. So I'm going to start mounting my rails, but I just want to give you a heads up on some of the hardware you could expect. Now this is IronRidge. There's other brands, but IronRidge is just a great product. Now I got a lot of this off Marketplace to keep my costs down. So I actually have a mix and match. I have 6 sticks or rails that are 14 foot long for the XR100. It is a little larger rail, and that's going to mount to our points here with these bolts. The bolts will go into this channel here, slide in, and then we'll go ahead and tighten those down and get the correct height here to make sure everything is nice and leveled out. Now I do have 2 sticks 14 foot long of the smaller XR10. Same hardware, just can't hold quite the load or span. I'm in Georgia, so I won't really have much of a snow load. Both of these are going to work. And I'm just going to have to raise this one up so the top surface is the same as my larger XR100s. Now, once we have these mounted up, then we have our standard bolts that are going to clamp down on our panels. This one here would have a panel on both sides, so this would be a mid clamp. And then for the end clamp, you'll have these little caps here that go on, and you should really size those to your panels. This is a 40 millimeter, there's 35 millimeter, 45 millimeter. Again, if you're getting them off a Marketplace, you might have to cut these down depending, but that will be what finishes up on the end of your rail with only one panel, so you can tighten this down and it's able to squish down on this insert here and also the panel that would be on the other side. Now you'll also want to have a grounding clamp here. Again, this will go up top. You'll be able to put your bare ground in here and ground your rails, making sure all those are grounded. So you have your whole system grounded and bonded. You'll have end caps here. You'll have wire management if you want it, if you're not just using zip ties. That's the common hardware if you're using the IronRidge. So I'm going to start mounting all mine up so we can start bringing the panels up and also get our junction box installed here on the roof. So I have about 26 feet, a little bit less I'm going to cover. So that's going to be 2 14-foot sticks per row here. And I have 3 of those rows, like I said, were the bigger ones. The way I'll actually position those just with a scrap piece of wood, then I'll drive home that mounting nut and I'm good to go. We'll put the second rail here, and then I'll go down to the rail at the bottom. All these are the same height, so I can just use that scrap piece of wood. And now going to my last one, which is a smaller rail, I'll use a straight edge to make sure everything's lined up on the top surface. Now to get wires through your asphalt shingle roof, I'm going to use the Easy Solar junction box. This has built-in flashing and it can be easily mounted to your deck so that you can securely get the wires through in a weather-sealed way, just as long as you drill right in the middle of that box and not to the outer edge. Usually you got to do a larger hole through your decking and then a smaller hole through the box itself because you're going to be passing a nipple through. I'm using plastic conduit on this, but you could also use metal conduit, especially if you're passing DC wires into a structure. So you'll mount that all up. Once you get everything good to go and you can position how you're going to pass wires through, either gland connectors like this, or actually I'm going to install MC4 connectors on this project, making sure your sealant is under there, and then get everything positioned and mounted with the 4 mounting screws so you can start wiring things up. Now that install was a little different. It was on a past garage project, but I installed this one exactly the same. And this time on Solar Shed 2.0, we're going to bring MC4 connectors in because I need a little flexibility to change this configuration over time, as I'll be testing different inverters and different batteries, and I might need to string together or rewire my panels a little bit. So I'll have my evenly spaced positions and just use a stepper bit to pass the threaded end of those MC4 connectors that I just took off standard bulkhead connectors that I get on Amazon. And remember, you'll see the link in the description, or you can scan this QR code for all these different supplies. And there's quite a few different supplies, but that will at least give you a reference if there's a few different things that would come in handy for your project. Now, once we have this all in place, I'm using Wago 221 and the 613s, which can handle 10 gauge wire, to bring the 2 strings of 7 panels into parallel, and then just passing the 2 positive and negative down into the shed, which will go into the EcoFlow unit. And then my 6 gauge bare copper will go ahead and put in the bus bar and secure our bolts. To compare and contrast, remember this is about $2,000 worth of solar panels here, not including the batteries or the EcoFlow units I'm going to plug it into, but that's 6 kilowatts worth of solar on this roof, which is a very capable system. If you want to see what would it cost for a professionally installed system so you can make the right choice, there's a link in the description. You just provide a little details on your home, and within a matter of minutes you have a dashboard up saying what size of system would you need to offset your monthly power bills and roughly how much would that cost. So you have that piece of information to know, is DIY or professionally installed right for you. So let's go ahead and lay out our wires, getting all that prep work done, and then we can start setting our panels and hopefully do a little testing here in just a couple hours to see how much are we bringing from this 6 kilowatt capable unit into the EcoFlow power station down in the shed. Now, before I put any panels on, I want to extend out the wires I'm going to need to complete each of these circuits. I have the red positive running from both of the different strings, and then the black negative all going into the Easy Solar junction box. And my wiring will be pretty much complete because I've also have both of those rails grounded. And then I start mounting my panels. Take your time, and hopefully it's not windy that day because these can be a little bit to bring up on the roof by yourself, especially if there's some wind. So make sure you're taking your time and being safe. And then the first panel is critical, getting everything lined up, because that's really going to set your lineup for the rest of the panels to make sure everything's squared up and looking good. You don't want to rush the first 2, but if you get that right, it's pretty quick piecing all these in and doing a little wire management as you go along, making sure that you keep the cables as much as possible off the asphalt shingle roof, because that can really wear those cables over time if they're kind of moving around with the breeze or in the wind. And along the way, especially for DIYers, I take these little cables and I do a test. So before I get all the panels on, I plug it in and I do the test to make sure if we had any wiring issues, we could troubleshoot those before all the panels are in place, because that can turn into a bit of a mess. You can either plug those all the way into your end charge controller, or you can just do voltage open circuit test for each string, understanding what you should have as you'll add up the voltage along the way as you add more panels. And then as we do our last row here, I'm just using my cutoff wheel here on an angle grinder, and that is how I'm cutting off each of these rails nice and clean and getting the end caps in place.
Now, as the roof's getting smaller, take your time and be careful because you can easily step off and fall off your roof if you don't take your time, and you want to make safety your first priority.
So there she is. Definitely have some cleaning to do on the panels, but we have everything wired up and mounted. And now I can at least test it, as this is still a construction zone. This is going to be my office here going forward. It's really Solar Shed 2.0. We have a ridiculously capable system with an EcoFlow Smart Home Panel 3. So this is a monster. Basically could power your house. You got 32 slots that then either gets powered from the grid, or you can power it from interface that then takes your Delta Pro Ultra, Ultra X, Delta Pro 3, multiple different units can power that and run off battery. And that's what I'll be doing here, completely off grid. So we have the conduit coming in from that Easy Solar junction box. I'll need to secure it in the wall. I put a bunch of extra wire here with my positive and negative, as this is just temporary for testing as I finish up the walls and get everything plumbed in. I have my ground wire, insulated 6 gauge that went to the bare 6 gauge copper you saw connected up to the rails. And then the Delta Pro Ultra X, which is this unit, it comes with this little whip here that is a disconnect. So I have everything wired in. Remember, we took the 2 strings, 7 panels each, went parallel. So I just have one positive and negative going into one of the charge controllers. We'll turn this on. This charge controller is connected to one of the sets of NC4 connectors here. So this unit can actually go up to 10,000 watts or 10 kilowatts. And I am past the prime of my day, but we do have a pretty good amount coming in. So we got about 2,300 watts or 2.3 kilowatts charging up our battery, and everything looks good to go. Now overall, I am super satisfied with our end result. I have quite a bit more work to do on the Solar Shed 2.0 to get this across the finish line, but now I have a functioning system where I can start testing out how much do I actually replenish the Delta Pro Ultra X unit and start to balance out my loads, because I do want to have a full mini split system in here for heating and cooling year round with some additional loads coming up. Now, if you want to see what it takes for doing a grid-tied DIY system, you can check out this video right here, and I'll walk you through the complete process of a 4.8 kilowatt system I put on one of my rental properties a little over a year back. And then if you want more specifics on the Delta Pro Ultra X and the Smart Home Panel 3, this thing can be used for all sorts of off-grid applications, including your house, a cabin, a massive workshop. A lot of cool applications are unlocked with this new system because the capability is so much more than what it's been in the past. And then if you just need a little more help on basic wiring, you heard me say series and parallel and series parallel, you can check out this video right here and we'll walk you through those basics to help you out and start going down the path of DIY solar. So thanks for joining me on this video, and we'll catch you on one of those next ones. Take care.